Hey, howdy everyone. Okay, I know I said in the last video I was going to rank all the Kingdom Hearts games, but I was writing the script segments for it. However, I just could not get the thought of ranking every Fnaf game out of my head. Mostly because I think it would take a smaller amount of time to do it, since they're small indie games, and Kingdom Hearts games are usually big, like console games, usually. And it was just bugging me too much, so now we're here. I'm doing this real quick to get it out of my brain so I can work easily more on the Kingdom Hearts script. Just know, at the time of recording this, I've already finished the 358 over 2 the day script, and I am now working on the Kingdom Hearts 2 one. Well, not at this moment, but after I finish, when this video goes up. And yeah, I'm in a different location from last time, but that's not important right now. Right now, we're ranking each FNAF game, so let's get on to doing that with... FNAF 1 was a massive, unexpected hit in the indie game scene, becoming one of the most popular horror games of the time. Mostly due to its unique style of gameplay being that instead of having to run away from the threat, you are staying in one spot having to fend them all away. The gameplay was unique in the fact that you're in one room, with 2 doors to the left and right of you, and you have to use a camera system to look around the joints to try and find the animatronics coming after you, and when they get to your door, you have to close it on them. And the way you figure that out is with a light. Outside those 2 doorways are hallways that lead into the main area of the pizzeria. And in those hallways, there's 2 cameras for each of them, both of which don't go directly to your door, so there's a blind spot there where the animatronics can just go. And that's where the light comes in. If you think an animatronic is at your door, flash a light to be sure, and if they're there, shut the door on them. All of that plays into another part of the mechanic system, in the power. You start off with 100% power in each night, and as the nights go on, it slowly starts to go down. Once the power reaches 0, the lights turn off, the doors open, and you have approximately a maximum amount of 60 seconds, that's it, until Freddy comes and kills you, and that's all depending on your RNG. There's 3 phases to it. The lights go out, his lights go out and then the song, the power actually goes out, the footsteps. I believe so. I could be wrong about that though. And that wouldn't be so much of a problem per se, because the only way the animatronics kill you is if they're at your door for too long, and if you have your camera system up at the same time. Just flip up a camera and they kill you, as simple as that. So, realistically, you could just not use anything and just wait the night out. But then there's Foxy. His whole deal is you have to look at him on the cameras for him to not move. And even on night 1 where he's not active at all, if you just try to wait out the night, he'll still come and get you as like a save state. Not save. Fail safe! I don't know. Words are hard! I'm keeping this in. It's funny. That way you don't cheese your night through. Also, I'm pretty sure this is like common knowledge within the FNAF scene anyway, but for those of you who don't know anything or much of anything in the FNAF game series, just know that this game was quite literally created out of spite from the creator Scott Coffin because of the failure of his last game, Chipper & Sons Lumberco, which I've played before, and I get why it did flop, but I enjoyed it a lot for myself. But we're not talking about that game, we're talking about FNAF. The game was criticized for having a really boring structure of how to actually play the game, and for the fact that the characters all look like creepy animatronics. And so Scott Coffin used that as a basis for his next game. And what do you know? It blew up, like it literally blew up. Tons of sequels, there's a movie coming out, merchandise. No one, and I mean no one, could have predicted that kind of blow up. It was a massive hit back in 2014. Personally, I'm not too much of a fan of actually playing the game. However, I do love watching others play it. Believe me, there is a world of difference. I just get a huge nostalgia trip of watching. Oh my god, why is it getting so dark in here? Freddy Fazbear's coming for me! Ah! I just get a huge nostalgic trip of watching old Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, Corey Extension, FNAF 1 videos. They're just charming to me, enough said. The game was never really made with the intention of spinning off into its own, franchise. It had, some moments with the phone guy calls that, set some stuff up with the lore, but most of it was just kind of throwaway lines like the Bite of 87. Stuff like that from the first game with the fighting phone calls eventually turned into actual like story relevant plot beats, like again the Bite of 87. What once was throwaway lines became the basis for some of the most story relevant games in the series. All in all, not a bad start to the series. It could have been worse. Way worse. But as is, I can totally understand why this game became like its own massive franchise. Going to the top of the list so far, and let's move on to Fnaf 2, the highly anticipated sequel. This game is just a massive upgrade from the previous game, introducing a bunch of new animatronics, new mechanics. I feel like they're building atop the old mechanics, but not feeling too out of place. Getting rid of the whole door system, but keeping the light system, where instead of having two doors to your right and your left, you have two air vents to your right and your left, and one big-ass hallway in front of you. Most of the animatronics get into your office through the air vents, which, yeah, that makes sense. And only like 2 of them actually come in through the hallway. Plus there's this whole music box thing where on one of the cameras in the camera system, you have to wind up a music box so that one of the animatronics doesn't come and kill you. If it runs out and you hear the little do 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 do. So you hear that? You may as well just get up, go make yourself a coffee because your run is over. The last new mechanic of the game is of course the Freddy mask. It's basically the replacement for the doors, being the thing you use to get rid of the animatronics. Some of the animatronics will come into your office, stand in front of you, and then you have to use the mask. But some of them would stay inside the vents, and you only know they're there, and you have to use your mask when either you put the mask on by accident and you see the lights flickering, you use the light on the vents to see them there, or they kill you. It's also notable for making Golden Freddy, the like rare Easter egg surprise character for the last game, into an actual threat, like an active non-Easter egg threat, one that's active on the custom night. By the way, I forgot to mention the custom night and the 6th night in the games from the last game. Basically, once you beat night 5, you unlock the 6th night, and after you unlock the 6th night, which is its own separate tab on the main menu, then you unlock both the extras menu and the custom night. And what the custom night entails is you get to change the difficulty setting of all the animatronics. What that means is a bit complicated, so let me just break it down. So basically each animatronic has a number assigned to them from either 0 to 20. All the while, a random number generator is producing numbers from 0 to 20. And if the number it generates exceeds the number assigned to that animatronic, then they don't move. But if the number assigned is either equal to or less than the number assigned to that animatronic, then they do move. And in the last game, it was possible, well actually in all the custom night games, the games with custom nights, because not all of them do, you can assign all of the animatronics to having 20 difficulty, which means they will always be moving and be difficult as hell. And in the last game, if you set the animatronics to 1, 9, 8, 7, you get a little secret. Try it right now. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it! It can be seen as padding. All in all, it is technically a better game than FNAF 1. I just prefer FNAF 1 to it, and it might mostly just be due to fatigue since I've, had more exposure to FNAF 2 than possibly any of the other pre-FNAF World games, and I'm just a little bit tired of it. Going below FNAF 1, but that doesn't mean it's a bad game. Let's move on to FNAF 3 is often considered a downgrade to that even of FNAF 1 because instead of having multiple different animatronics coming after you, you only really have one that could kill you. The other animatronics they do jump scare you, but they don't kill you. I actually believe that having one animatronic chasing after you as opposed to like 1,000, it's still pretty interesting. It's a new spin on the series. And basically the way you deal with this new animatronic is you have to use audio alerts on the camera system to basically lure them away from you. And then there's another thing with the ventilation system, which was in the previous game, but it's also expanded upon in this one, with there being multiple different passageways he can go through the vents, and you have to close them all off when he gets to them, so he goes back. He can either go through the different parts of the map or just spawn right into your office. Along with these new things, there's also like things that can go wrong, like video errors, audio errors, ventilation errors, and they're all bad. A video error makes it so you can't see your cameras anymore. Audio alert makes it so you can't use your audio alerts anymore. And the ventilation is arguably the worst of them all, because not only does it make you not able to close the vents when it's in them, but it also makes you hallucinate, so you see multiple different spring traps at once. And only one of them is the real one. That, and when he's at your doorway and staring at your face. If the ventilation goes down, the lights will start flickering, and when they do, he kills you. I do get where others are coming from when they say they don't like Fnaf 3 that much. I just do like it. It's possibly the easiest of the pre-Fnaf World games, but that doesn't make it bad. I enjoy playing it, and I enjoy watching others play it. It was also the game to introduce, properly introduce, the main antagonist of the series, William Afton, who was a child murderer and was responsible for why the animatronics in the first game were even coming after you in the first place. It's going to be going in between FNAF 1 and FNAF 2, because again, I just still prefer FNAF 1 to it. And with that, let's move on to... I know from my last videos, it seems like I had a lot of positive things to say about the game. I spoke nothing of good things about the animatronics in the game, but that's the thing. The animatronics are good, but with the animatronics comes a game. That game isn't very good. I'm truly serious when I say this. If it wasn't for the really, really, really incredible designs in this game, it would possibly be the worst one. And believe me, that mindset comes back later. It's, once again, another kind of downgrade, but instead of having one animatronic total that's coming to get you, we're back to having a couple of coming after you. But you don't have your camera system anymore. Instead, all you do is run left, right, forward, and back to your different parts of your bedroom. To the doorway on the left, doorway on the right, closet, bed! And it just gets repetitive. And I know it is very ironic for me to call a FNAF game repetitive, but you feel it a lot more in this game than others. I guess boring would be the better way to say it. The game is heavily reliant on you having to listen. If you think an animatronic is at your door, listen. If you hear breathing, shut the door. If you don't, flash a light. Do not close the door if you're not there, because they will be there then next, and they will kill you. And then there's also the Freddles in the back. 3 of them can spawn at once, and if they're there for a while, Freddy comes. And then there's Foxy. He acts the same as Bonnie and Chica for the most part, coming in between either the left or the right doorway. But once he gets in, he is different. He acts more like he did in FNAF 1. He hides in your closet, and to keep him at bay, you have to go up there and close the door on him for a while to turn him back into a plushie. It uses the same number generator as the last 3 games, but there is no custom night mode, like in FNAF 3 where there's also no custom night mode. There is, however, a 420 mode, where it sets all the animatronics to 20. Once it gets to night 5, that's when things get real, because after 4 AM, all the animatronics are replaced with Fredbear. He uses elements from all of the animatronics mechanics, from the doorways, the bed, the closet, and uses it for his own gain, all the while acting like a cat on crack, running around sporadically, all the while giggling in your face as well. I love his design a whole lot, because it's just Nightmare again, but gold. But he is a real bitch to deal with. And then there's Nightmare mode, which replaces Fredbear with Nightmare, who is Fredbear again, but even quicker. If you flash him for more than a millisecond, he kills you. If you close the door on him for longer than you need to, he kills you. You need to be absolutely perfect in how you play him. And also, I almost forgot again, the Plus Trap minigame. It's like the most forgettable part about the game. Basically, you wait until he's on the X and then you flash him and then you get 2 hours after next night. The story of this game is that you play as a little boy trapped in a nightmare coma after his brother put him in the head of Fredbear, real Fredbear in real life, and a snap down on his head, breaking open his skull and killing him. We learn all this through the minigames that you play after each night that slowly tell the story. And you think at first that all of the nights are real and you're actually just playing them, and in the morning you play the minigames, but that's not the case. It is, I guess, a little bit entertaining to watch others play it, but it is just not at all fun to play. This game originally was supposed to be the final chapter, the last game of the series, But obviously that was not the case. Bottom of the list so far, but I doubt it's gonna stay there for long, which is possibly the saddest part. Moving on! And here we are, Five Nights at Freddy's World. This was quite possibly the jump the shark moment in the Fnaf series. Changing from a horror game to a cutesy RPG style game. And dude, people really were not on board when it came out at first. It originally came out on Steam for a price tag, but after a while was taken down and re-released on Game Jolt for free, where it remains to this day. It also for a while did have a mobile release on phone, but to my knowledge it's no longer there. I, for one, was really looking forward to this game when it came out. I would just sit on Scott Games eagerly wait for which next animatronic was going to get changed, and then when the release date was announced, I was just waiting for it like it was Christmas. I didn't have a PC or a laptop when it released. All I had was a shitty little Windows XP PC that was hooked up to the TV. It was all I had, and surprisingly enough, it let me download it and play it. But holy shit, it was so slow. The loading screens were like 10 minutes each, and you walked in the overworld like a slug. But it was all I had back then, and I ate it up. I loved it then, and you know what? Screw it, I love it now. It's a good game. Y'all are just haters. I don't know why I bother making a script for these things. I barely follow along them anyway. Most of this is just ad-lib. The story is not very important. It also is pretty different from regular turn-based RPG games like Pokemon or Dragon Quest or Final Fantasy, etc. Where instead of you having to strategically think about what move you're going to do next, and instead the actions always happening, you have to wait for the actual actions corresponding to your character to show up so you can use it. It is completely hectic and insane and chaotic, and I love it. You have two teams of 4. One is like the main team, and one is like a backup team, which adds a whole lot of strategy considering you only have 48 characters to deal with. Originally it was just 40 characters, but after update 2 it gave us an additional 8. Most of them are super overpowered, and then there's Purple Guy. We're gonna talk about Purple Guy. Or Shadow Freddy, or Phantom Freddy. I'm not gonna go too in depth about the actual characters themselves, because I do plan to make my own separate ranking on all the Fnaf World characters. Stay tuned for that. This game, more than any of them, is the game I feel the most nostalgic for. Hearing the OST, Fazbear Hills, is absolutely well up, dude. It is just a pure blast to play. If you haven't played it, I highly recommend it. I don't really know much else what to say about this game. I think I've got everything I want to say off my chest. So I'm just gonna put it at the top of the list right now and we're gonna move on. I tell a lie, there's one thing left. It was also our introduction to the first new animatronic for the next mainline game in Circus Baby. So let's just move on to that game. This is the worst mainline FNAF game easily. First of all, the gameplay is much different from any of the last games, of the mainline games I mean, in that each night is something different. Whether it be a tutorial, walking through Balora's place to get to Freddy's place and to turn on power to different parts of the area, wherever it is, to an actual traditional style FNAF game by the end. And we don't talk about Night 4. You'd think all of that would make for a pretty entertaining game, but it just makes it all the more fatiguing. Because with the previous FNAF games, even though it was repetitive, there was some semblance of replayability to them. Here with this game, if you don't like one segment of a game, it'll be like a black hole. It'll make it unfun to play and watch, and guess what? This game is both for all of it throughout for me. I really just do not like it at all. It is such... I was really looking forward to this game before it released. I was very excited to see what the new FNAF game had in store. And now here we are. Bottom of the list without a shadow of a doubt. A couple months ago, if you had asked me what my least favorite FNAF game is, I would have said this game. It offers very little in terms of actual gameplay, even less so than Sister Location. It has, without a doubt, the ugliest art style. Both the night animatronics, Helpy, and all the stage animatronics, none of them do it for me. The actual gameplay part of it with the night sections is you sit at a computer, order stuff, unplunge toilets, all of that jazz, while having to fend for yourself, looking between the two vents in the left and right of you, keeping the monsters away with your flashlight, and then you sign out for the night. It presents itself at first as like an actual pizzeria simulator. You build your own pizzeria, going from rags to riches, using actual dumpster food, dumpster animatronics, from going to like real animatronics and stuff like that. But the actual basis of the game is you trying to find different animatronics like Scrap Baby, Scrap Trap, Molten Freddy, and Lefty, bringing them to this like big maze of like a pizzeria without an end, and then burning them alive, freeing the souls within, and I just couldn't care less. It's boring. However, it is slightly entertaining to watch. I get no joy out of playing the game, looking at the game, but if I need to, I'll eat up Markiplier's videos on them. Going above sister location, but that's not really a thing. And here we have Fnaf AR, aka the absolute worst Fnaf game. It is just a lame clone of Pokemon Go, but instead of walking around trying to find different Pokemon encounters and flipping a Pokeball at them, you just have random animatronic encounters. What do you do with that? I don't know, because the game kept crashing on me, and the only encounters I would get is from RxQ, which apparently isn't even like a real character in the game. I literally could not play this game at all because it kept crashing on me. Don't buy this. It's not a buy. Don't download this game. It sucks. It's also ruined Fnaf merchandise. I keep seeing goddamn Liberty Bell Chica everywhere in my local Walmart. Ah! So yes, that's the list. Help Wanted was the first of soon-to-be duology of the VR Fnaf games. For the most part, it's just a reimagining recollection of the first 3 Fnaf games just made in VR. And it's good. It is really, really good. I love it. I would say that Fnaf 1 is I'd say they're all arguably easier than they were in the original form. Because instead of having to need the separate button to flip up the camera systems, you just have it there on you all the time. That way you could just keep monitoring one camera spot all the time, while defending all the animatronics, one by one. I would probably say it's maybe better on PC or with anything but PlayStation VR, because I oftentimes, and like especially in Fnaf 1, I've just found myself struggling to like open and close the doors and turn on the lights, because the button will be right here, my hand will be right here, nothing. Why? Oh, it's because I'm outside the camera's view. I don't really have much to say about this game. It's just fun. I like it. Going below Fnaf 2. Ultimate Custom Night sucks. It is just the custom nights from the last kind of Fnaf games, but as its own standalone game with 50 animatronics to worry about. And most of them are Fnaf 6 animatronics, and you already know my feelings towards them. I will say, however, it is cool to see Old Man Consequences and Dee Dee from Fnaf World again, and it is really, really awesome that we get to hear Wyver Bonnie's talk, and the boy has a sense of humor. They made the best animatronic better. How do you do that? It did. Plus, the story, I guess, is also pretty cool, being you actually take control of William Afton, after he had, like, burned alive in Fnaf 6, now living in his own purgatory hell. But then again, there's the game behind it, and I don't like playing it at all. It is cool, funny, however, to see YouTubers trying to do 50-20 mode and losing your sanity. But it's not really my kind of thing, so it's going below Fnaf 6. Freddy in Space 2 is actually a sequel to one of the joke minigames in FNAF World. Originally, Freddy in Space 1, it was kind of like a joke, being like how FNAF games at the time were being pumped out of the woodwork, being called FNAF 67. But unironically, it was really fun then, and it's still fun now. I love Freddy in Space 2. It gives us new maps, new characters, all of which have different things like different guns and jump heights, and it's just a fun little time waster. You run around and you shoot things with Freddy Fazbear, what else do you need? Below FNAF World. I think this game was made to promote Security Breach. I don't know though. I honestly forget this game exists sometimes. I never played it, and I never watched anyone play it until today when I had to make the video. It's basically like one of those classic arcade beat-em-up games like that Ninja Turtle ones or the Simpsons arcade game, where you take control of the new stage animatronics in Security Breach from Freddy, Monty, Roxy, and Chica. And I don't know how different they are. I don't know much about the story. All I know is that it's a beat-em-up game. I like the design for the animatronics, especially Monty, but it's not really my thing, so we're gonna move right along to Fnaf Security Breach. Yeah! This game, it was the first fully open world Fnaf game. We did see something like that back in Help Wanted with the whole Grim Fox minigame, but that was just a minigame as part of the full game. This time, however, it's the full experience. You run around in this gigantic pizzaplex. What's a pizzaplex? I got no idea. Trying to survive until 6 a.m. So that way you can either run out and escape, or go back and try and defeat what's causing all the animatronics to go hoo-hoo. The only animatronic that's not trying to kill you is Freddy. In this game, he is actually your companion, and sometimes even your seat. And it's funny too, because this is the first time Freddy was actually, relevant to the story in a game series called Five Nights at Freddy's. This is the first time he did something important. It's mostly like an open world, stealth, collectathon kind of game, and I usually like stealth games for this anime. The game was most fun back when you reach 6 a.m. you could do a little glitch that makes it so the game is tricked into thinking it's back at 2 a.m. So that way the save states that at 6 a.m. go offline are online again, so they can actually save the game after that point. And speaking of glitches, this game's release. Where do I begin? Low frame rates, shitty textures, and the game struggling to keep the map loaded in at all times. I once fell through the entire map because it just randomly unloaded. Pull up the video if I can. If the video is being played right now, I did it, yay. It did later on get a big update that fixed most of the problems. The frame rate was fixed and the map doesn't despawn anymore, but the textures are still pretty shitty. Not as shitty, but not good. It also has multiple different endings, which, until a couple of days ago, it was unclear which was the canon ending, which the one that really did happen in the end. It was a juggle between one called Princess Quest, where the main protagonist, Gregory, frees Vanessa, who was like the security guard and main antagonist of the game, from the brainwashing she endured, and both of which, and Freddy said after he got destroyed, they leave the pizzaplex and assumes it's implied that they start a new life together. And then there's the burn trap ending, which I for one thought it was real. It was the only ending to have an actual CGI ending and not drawings. Plus, it's arguably the hardest ending to get, being that you need to have destroyed all the animatronics, which you can only do at 6 a.m. when you can't save anymore. Go down to Roxy Raceway, go down to the Pizzeria Simulator area, and defeat Burn Trap, who is not Springtrap apparently, it's some 15-year-old girl in the Spring Bonnie suit. I thought that ending was real, but apparently it isn't. I'm ranking this game separate, this DLC separately from the base game, because it is pretty different from the base game, replacing the whole open world stealth collectathon with a linear action collectathon. You're on a path for the most part. Makes the whole thing feel a lot more claustrophobic, considering you know for a fact how big the place really is, but you're only experiencing a small portion of it. And you use this AR mask that basically makes you warp between realities, and they have to locate different security nodes to progress, because they sometimes lock doors. What's a security node? Good question. Next. It also arguably has the most emotional moment in all of FNAF, being that your new protagonist Cassie has to deactivate her favorite animatronic Roxy, who in the previous game was just as aggressive and nasty and snarly at Gregory as all the other animatronics, But in this game shows like some actual humanity. She was kind and gentle to Cassie, and then she deactivates her because she was told she needs to in order to free Gregory. All the while heading down to the Pizzeria Simulator area, just crying over the loss of Roxy. And it's at this point where it's revealed that the burn trap ending did not happen, because it was implied in that ending that Gregory got stuck in the Pizzaplex, like down there. But he's not there. He was never there. Burn trap is nowhere to be found, and instead, we get whatever the hell this is. We then hear on the walkie-talkie that Gregory was never there, and by the end, he says, "We can't be risked being followed." Stuff like that, and a few other like bits and pieces sprinkled in here and there, reveal that the Princess Quest ending was the real one. When that ending hit me, I could not speak. I was speechless. The story is so good. It's probably like the best story in any of the Fnaf games. But the game itself, not so much. It's not the worst kind of gameplay we've seen in the Fnaf game, just not the best. Not my favorite. It's going below Fnaf 1. And with that, we have now covered all the Fnaf games. Aside from the different kind of troll games. But we're not talking about those. Ever. I've so far have spent my entire day working on this video, so let's just get this over and talk about the ranking. From bottom up, we have AR, Sister Location, UCN, Pizzeria Sim, FNAF 4, Fury's Rage, Help Wanted, FNAF 2, FNAF 3, Ruin, FNAF 1, Freddy in Space 2, Security Breach, World. Hope you all enjoyed this video, and I promise next one will be on Kingdom Hearts. I already have the thumbnail worked on it.